Hi, I'm Marge Robeson, registered dietitian with Pisonic Partners.
And I'm Louis Aguilar, chef at LCCAA Head Start.
And I am Melinda Gray, food service manager at LCCAA Head Start.
Welcome to another Out of the Box cooking series, where this time we're featuring comfort cuisine. When you think about comforting cuisine, what do you think about, Louis?
Delicious, fluffy mashed potatoes.
That sounds good to me. And Melinda, what do you think?
I like potato soup with bacon.
Potato soup. I hear a lot of mention of potatoes, and I think potatoes are very comforting. Hence today we're making a ham and potato casserole that's delicious and easy and comforting food. Of course, you're going to get a box for all these ingredients to make this recipe. And when you open your box, this is always so exciting. We always like to include some type of equipment that you'll need to make the recipe. So of course you'll have the recipe in your box. And then also the recipe calls for an 8x11 pan. So we have that pan in there for you to use. And then all of your ingredients are in here. So you will get potatoes, of course, and then, of course, all of your ingredients. Talk about comforting. Cheese is often comforting, right? So you have some cheese, chicken broth is in here, flour, an onion that we will dice, ham. And when you register, you get to select whether you want regular ham or a turkey ham. So if you don't eat pork, you have that option for turkey ham. And then some garlic we have, milk, let's see, butter, pepper, and some Cajun seasoning that adds that extra zing to it.
Like opening a Christmas gift.
Yes, and of course we always include some extra goodies in the box. So besides the baking dish, I'm sure there'll be some other things in there for you also. So we're gonna wash our hands and then get started with preparing this recipe. All right, we're ready to get started. First thing we've done is preheated our oven to 375 degrees. Our potatoes are washed, but then you're gonna peel and dice the potatoes.
Yes. So a good variety to use for these, an all-purpose potatoes, the Yukon, which you will be getting in your box. And these are low starch, which means they'll hold their shape better once they cook for the boiling and for the baking in the oven.
Okay.
And once they're washed, for peeling, just grab a good old peeler and just give it a nice, watching your fingers, just give it a nice peel down the center, making sure to get the edges. Good trick, especially if you have little ones. Grab a fork, poke it in the end.
I like that.
Fingers are all the way, then just have at it.
Nice. So I know the recipe, as you're peeling and dicing that, the recipe calls for 2 pounds of potatoes. Potatoes come in all different shapes and sizes, right? So what is 2 pounds? You're gonna want about 2 pounds is about 6 cups, roughly, of chopped, diced potatoes. And again, one of the beauties of this recipe is, at least as far as the potatoes, if you're a little bit over, a little bit under, that's okay, but you wanna end up with about 6 cups of diced potatoes.
Potatoes tend to be roly-poly, which equals a little bit unsafe. So what you want to do is take your sharp knife, carefully just cut one of your edges. This prevents the potato from rolling and being more stable. Now what you want to do is cut these into similar sizes or cuts. What that does is gives you even cooking and baking throughout. So for this, depending on your size, if you can get 1 or 2 kind of cuts out of the potato, depending if it's bigger, you can get more out of it. Again, working with the flat surface, you want to maybe go about 1/2 inch. Then you want these to be symmetrical, so cut that. And it's a potato. It has a peculiar shape, so you won't get it perfect, but you'll get them similar sized. And that's kind of what you want to look for.
So we're gonna peel and dice all of our potatoes.
Once we got our potatoes all cut, we'll want to add our salt to our water. Then add our potatoes to our water.
So you started the water boiling. So you start with boiling water, and then he's adding those diced potatoes.
And then those, once they come to a boil, you want to cover them and cook them for about 4 minutes. And that's what we call, we're going to parboil them, which essentially will help in the cook time once we get these in the oven. It'll help lessen that cook time.
Okay.
And the next ingredient that we're going to cut is the onion. Like always, what you want to do is take as much as this skin, but not all of it off. And you want to leave the root side on. Cut the edge, cut that, cut this in half.
And I know when the ingredients come in the box, they're not always pre-measured. So don't assume when you see the amount. You should always double check those measurements. We have ours for our purposes here measured to the amount we need, but when they're packing your boxes, sometimes they might put a little extra in there. So please make sure that you're double checking all of those ingredients. And same thing like it says for a small onion, I would say that's a medium to a large onion.
Yes.
So you probably don't need to use all of that.
And then as safely as you can, what you want to do is horizontal cuts, then vertical, always for dicing. So, and you want to go as close as you can to that root that's still on, and that's going to help hold that onion together as we dice it. And again, try as much as you can, fingers tucked, uniform cuts, and you'll end up with your diced onion.
So I think next we'll take our 9x13 pan and butter it so we can, when those potatoes are done parboiling, we can put the potatoes into the pan.
Our potatoes are done boiling, and we are going to now just spray our pan.
So we're gonna add those into the, and I guess if you overcook them more than partially boil them, then they could get too mushy.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. So we're gonna start with heating our pan so that we can start making the roux or the gooey, yummy sauce that goes on these.
All right, we are going to start with our butter here in our pan. I'm gonna get that melted down a little bit. And all we're doing is we're going to now, what we call in the chef's world, sweating our onions and our garlic. So all you're doing is bringing this up just hot enough. We don't want to brown these. We just want to let these deep flavors be extracted from the actual product.
2 or 3 minutes. While that's going on, you have your ham, and that's pre-diced. You will get that pre-diced, and you're just putting this ham right over top of the potatoes. I love this recipe because you could use leftover ham. I know I have some leftover ham from a Christmas time that I put in the freezer when I get sick of eating ham for a couple of days, put the leftovers in the freezer, and then you can pull it out, and potatoes are an easy staple to have on hand. You have the ham on top of it, and this really can be a whole complete meal with maybe I would put a vegetable on the side with it. Or I've seen this same recipe, but like peas added in it, if you wanted to add a vegetable. Of course, I'm always thinking of ways to add more vegetables to our diet. You could do that also. So that looks what you would call translucent to me.
Yeah.
Pretty close. So then the next step is where you add your flour.
And essentially now, with the fat that's in here, and adding this flour slowly into our mixture, we're making what's called a roux. So this is equal parts of fat and flour. And what you essentially do want to do is cook this for about 2 minutes, because the heat will take that flavor of flour away once you heat it.
Okay. And that's what kind of makes a sauce be able to get thick, is when you kind of heat that flour, right? So it looks kind of crumbly in there, but then the next step when we add our broth and the milk to make almost like a cream sauce,
This time what you want to do is add this in slowly. And turn this up a little bit. And our milk, we added our broth and now our milk. And as this flour, you want to constantly stir this just so it starts breaking down. But once this flour starts essentially drinking up this liquid, it'll start thickening up. It'll congeal, just make a gel, and thicken up.
Great, so we're making the sauce.
All right, once our sauce has thickened up, and you can see as it coats the spoon, it's getting to that nice consistency.
Okay.
We want to add our cheese, and our spices are up next.
Okay.
And you want to save some of this for the topping also, so we add our cheese in there.
So about half of the cheese will go into the sauce, and then we'll sprinkle some on the top, stir that in and melt it. And then you're putting a little bit of salt, some pepper, garlic powder, and then I think the secret sauce is this Cajun seasoning, which I thought, well, I don't know about the Cajun seasoning. And you can add as much or as little as you want, but it does give it a little extra zing and flavor to it that really marries well with the ham and the potato. That's getting to be a really beautiful, thick sauce. And as we do these recipes, of course, we always talk about how to get kids in the kitchen. This one, because it involves the stovetop, you do want to, certainly be careful, but I think it's always a good idea to have them there as, they can help stir, or because we have all of the ingredients kind of in these little cups, you measure them out. It's fun just for kids to put the ingredients into the item, let them pour the potatoes into the pan, add the ham, add the seasonings in there, and the more they participate in preparing the dishes, the more likely they are to eat it.
Yes, and one little tip. Heat will, through the magic of science, will continue to thicken this up. If it gets too thick, just add a little splash of broth, a little splash of milk back into it, incorporate it, and it will thin out to the consistency you want it. That's just a tip if it gets too thick.
All right, so I think it's ready, right?
Yes.
So we just add it on top.
So we do carefully do this.
All right. Well, this looks comforting already to me with that cheesy sauce and the potatoes. Looks great. And I think this is a pretty kid-friendly food, too. A lot of kids like potatoes, the ham, anything with cheese. That always entices kids to want it more.
And it's also a multiple ingredient dish where essentially everything's just in one scoop.
Sure.
So it's also one of those fun things of like the one bite.
Right, and I love casseroles, but I always say if I can cook once and eat twice, I love it. So I would maybe double this recipe and put one in the freezer. This recipe is great. I said it could be a meal with maybe a vegetable on the side. You can make this ahead and then just reheat it.
And it holds up very well.
And it does hold up well. So I think the last thing is just sprinkling some of that cheese on top. And then once we get the cheese on there, it's ready to go into the oven. So it looks beautiful. We're gonna put it into the oven and let it bake for about 25-30 minutes, uncovered, right?
Uncovered. You want to let the steam escape, let all that moisture out, and it also helps with an evening browning on the top.
Well, let's get it in the oven. Well, that looks delicious, right? And it smells great when it's baking. I think it got the browning on the top of the cheese that we wanted.
And one thing I will say is, if you want it to be a more consistency, you can get it a little bit thicker. You want to let it set, maybe let it sit on the counter 5 minutes, and everything will kind of come back together. But either way, fresh out of the oven, it's all good.
Nice, very good. And so we love to do these, again, the recipes, Melinda. We do these recipes, so we can help kids get in the kitchen, huh?
We want the Head Start families to be able to help grow their kitchens, get their children to try new foods, and again, start learning at a young age to be in the kitchen and to help.
Great, great. Well, hopefully we've introduced you to a new recipe. Hopefully your kids like it. We all said potatoes is a comforting food. That's pretty comforting to me. Great. I love that little bit of Cajun spice there. Adds a little bit of extra flavor. I would say that recipe is a keeper. We hope you enjoy making it and join us again for one of our out-of-the-box cooking series.